Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jake. You can also call me Atrocious, and I'm so excited to bring you this OP10 tournament, the Japan Wave 2 Finals. It's been a while since the holidays, since we've had a Japanese championship here in OP10. We've had some other, like Hong Kong and stuff, have some different championships to showcase OP10, how the meta has evolved, how the meta has developed, and now we're bringing it into the Wave 2 Finals. The winners of the Wave 2 Finals, if you qualify high enough, qualify for the championship final. The Japan Championship Final will be showcased at the end of the month and the beginning of February. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure to subscribe for more content. We'll showcase every single round in this tournament. But let's go to the meta share before we do anything else. Okay, so interesting meta share right here. We have 12 Doflamingo. Don't think that surprises anybody. Doflamingo is the best deck, has been the best deck, and it will be the best deck. But anyways, moving on to the rest of the share, the more exciting stuff. You have 7 Marshall D Teach, 3 Shanks, and 3 Eustass Captain Kid. So Eustass Captain Kid, one of the new OP10 leaders, having its strongest showing of the OP10 meta so far since it's been around, with 3 different entries. I believe that you see one in one of the stream matches. I think someone told me. I don't know yet. You know by the title and thumbnail. 2 purple Luffys, 2 Rob Lucci's, 1 blue-black Usopp, 1 black-yellow Luffy, and 1 Enel. So speaking of matchup, let's see exactly who our matchup is. It is going to be Eustass Captain Kid. Okay, so Eustass Captain Kid, very interesting deck. Honestly, in my opinion, one of the most interesting decks to come out of OP10, right? Especially with that leader effect. At the end of your turn, you may turn the top card of your life cards face up, set up to one of your 3 to 8 cost characters with the Supernova type as active, and that character gains blocker until the end of your opponent's next turn. So in combination with different stuff like Basil Hawkins, right, in OP10, with an on KO effect of placing a card from the top of the opponent's life into the trash, it's a really interesting style of gameplay of, I'm going to burn your life, and then when I swing, I'm really going to pressure for game. Playing different stuff like the 8-drop Eustass Captain Kid, the 6-drop Robin, kind of a staple in a lot of different Eustass Captain Kid decks. It's going to be really interesting to see what this deck specifically is built around. And then Doflamingo, if you do not know, 2 Dawn, rest 1 when attacking. Look at the top card of your deck. If it's a 4 cost or less, 7 Warlords of the Sea type character, play it on the field as rested. So if you do not know, maybe you're a little bit newer to the game, Doflamingo revolving all around blue 7 Warlords of the Sea, and almost every card in the deck is built around the idea of 4 cost or less. So before we get too much farther, let me just say a couple quick business things. First of all, I'm not the official live stream. If you want to watch the official live stream, you can go check out the link in the description. I've got that there for you. As always in this, I always tell you guys where to watch the official tournament, so you don't have to always hear my commentary if you don't want to. But before we analyze this list, let's hear from a word from our sponsor. If you're like me and every single morning you need a hot cup of joe, or I don't know, maybe you just are normal and like coffee, look no further than Funky Rooster Coffee. Just pure fans of coffee. They actually also play the One Piece trading card game. I actually matched up against their owner in one of the tournaments that we played in. You can get a couple different types of coffee on there. Personally, I'm a fan of the Brazilian single origin medium roast, and maybe personally you don't like regular coffee, you're a decaf person, they've got that option too. You can also subscribe to their monthly coffee fix. Every single month you will get a fresh bag sent to your door of their coffee. Plus, you can save 10% while savoring the rich flavors and unique profiles of their expertly roasted coffee. Personally, I'm kind of a big fan. I was drinking coffee before this, but now with this, I drink this every day. I genuinely like it, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, like I'm into it. And right now on your order, you can actually save 5% off if you use my code Atrocious. The link is in the description below. Definitely go check them out. You can also get some fun stuff like their mug. Use that code, check out their site, and let me know down in the comments how you feel. Thank you again, Funky Rooster Coffee, helping me at 6 a.m. recording this video. But looking at the Doflamingo's hand, Looking at this, couple interesting things. One, it's got the law. The law is very nice, but that's the 2K version from OP7 right there. So that's not the 4-cost law that bounces back a character. You got a Weevil in hand, a Pudding, just a great blue card, one of the best blue cards that we have, a Buggy to help reorder, and then also a Jozu. I know Jozu has been a card that has fallen out of favor out here in the West. A lot of Americans, especially Jonas, right in the US Nationals just the other weekend, dropped it from his 3rd place list. So the East still running that card is curious to see. This Eustass Captain Kid hand doesn't look too shabby itself. Got a couple 2Ks in the Trafalgar Law. That's a promo that will hopefully get out here in the West sometime soon. You got an X-Drake from OP10, Gadatsu, a card that many people may be familiar with if you've been playing the game a while. There is kind of a Sky Island package within this deck. And then also you have that 7-drop Secret Rare Trafalgar Law, and then also that 8-drop Eustass Captain Kid. So it could be a little bit interesting. You don't really have any Supernovas in your hand right now as the Eustass Captain Kid, except for some 2Ks. And do you really want to play those 2Ks down? The X-Drake and the Trafalgar Law are both Supernova type characters, so they do fit your leader effect if you want to do that. But we'll have to see how this Eustass Captain Kid plays the game as we move into this one. Looks like Doflamingo is going first. Going to be nice to be able to use that Buggy and reorder the top. Going to be able to manipulate potentially what they get on their top deck, as well as what card they get off of their leader effects. So there is a Trafalgar Law, both a 2K version and a regular version. The regular version could be nice to get off the leader effect because it has that effect. If your opponent has 6 or more cards in hand, they place 1 card from their hand to the bottom of their deck. So especially, yeah, with this pass right here, getting a promo Trafalgar Law off the top deck, they've got 6 cards in hand, so could be really nice on this 7K leader swing to play that 4-drop OP07 Trafalgar Law and kind of minimize the hand a little bit. Not only do you have to potentially counter out, but you're going to play this law down, maybe pick back up your Buggy if you want to, or that Trafalgar Law actually. But with that, one thing that you do need to do is that's an activate main. It's not an on-play effect like the ST17 Trafalgar Law that is so popular and so good. So what this player can do right here is they can go ahead, counter 2K, right, would be able to get out of this attack. You hate getting that extra 2K in there, but you wouldn't have to be able to put a card to the bottom because your cards are pretty important right now. So is going to go ahead, use that effect on the Trafalgar Law to put it in hand, is going to be able to give you a 2K in hand, and your Eustass Captain Kid opponent has minused a couple cards, so really good exchange. Right now, after top decking that 2-drop Shirahoshi from EB01, right, one of the cards that we talked about in our Market Watch videos well before OP10 to go by, is going to be able to play that down after swinging 7, is going to take a life right there, and then play that Shirahoshi. There's nothing really in the Doflamingo deck to proctor the Shirahoshi, right? Shirahoshi, if it's KO'd by opponent's effects, you gain a life as a blocker, so is just going to be either blocking or being put back into hand. We'll have to wait and see. They do top deck that 4-drop there, Trafalgar Law. That's the one that I talked about. That bounces back, and it looks like Sengoku is going to be the option. Sengoku is going to search for a card. Did find a Teach, so Marshall D Teach could be really nice in this turn. You could use that to play it down, manipulate the top deck with that Trafalgar Law that you have, be able to swing another 7 with the leader effect, or maybe even 8 if you want to, and then be able to put that Shirahoshi back, not allow it to block, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's going to use that Marshall D Teach. We'll see if he puts that Trafalgar Law or Boa. May use that Trafalgar Law to get the Buggy in hand, or maybe put it back to continuously use it every single turn. So the Marshall D Teach going to go in then and go and use that leader effect, is going to go ahead, play that Law, maybe picking up the Sengoku. This is a strategy that we've seen a lot of times through players both in the East and the West, playing down that Trafalgar Law to not pick it up or 2K, but pick up the Sengoku to then once again go ahead, round out the turn, playing the Sengoku to search the cards for a specific piece of the puzzle. No Jinbeis yet at this point, but did find 3 boas, so you know with that other boa in hand that if you don't grab this boa, you're not going to see another one for the rest of the game. So very smart taking in that second boa. I think was the only option they could actually grab in general in this one, but no matter, they'll have to continue on. So now going in with kind of the starve method is going to be that swing at Trafalgar Law, and then going in playing down, what is this? This looks like, what is this 1-drop? I'm actually not super familiar with this alternate art. It looks like a 1-drop searcher of a sort. Is that like a Monkey D. Luffy type searcher? It's going to be the X-Drake right here. Let me do some researching real quick. It is going to be the alternate art of that 1-drop Monkey D. Luffy searcher. Is going to find a X-Drake, so another 2K in hand. And then with the rest of the Dawn right, you got 5 more left. Going to use that Gadatsu to KO the Law. You always use the Gadatsu to take out the strongest character on the field, and Law's not a bad one to take. A little bit of just weenies on the field. You're only really expecting 1 per turn at this point. So still does not have an option to use leader effect, right? But now that you have the Cavendish in hand, could be something that you use in the future of this game, or maybe they're playing Trafalgar Law or Eustass Captain Kidd here soon. Is going to go ahead, use that Jozu to put the Gadatsu back in hand, right? Neutralize a lot of the swinging threats. Board control huge in this matchup right now, and plays down that Edward Weevil with that Marshall D. Teach and leader effect to draw one card. Is going to be going ahead and pitching X-Drake and the Basil Hawkins. So looks like going in for a Trafalgar Law or Eustass Captain Kidd situation, as I was talking about, and goes ahead, plays down that Law, that secret rare Trafalgar Law for 7 Dawn. Has that on play. Reveal a Supernova type character card from your hand, add it to the top of your life face down. Then if it has a Supernova type, give up to 1 rested Dawn to your leaders. So with that active leader as well, is going to be able to swing 6 at the that one guy, the Edward Weevil, and use that 2K Trafalgar Law to counter out. After putting the kid in there that they revealed is going to be a Supernova type, right, and set up that Trafalgar Law as blocker. So right now you're sitting there through that leader effect with a 9,000 power blocker on the field. Going to be really nice. You're definitely going to be able to block one of these swings, and you're back to 5 life as a leader. The Doflamingo, going to be interesting to see how they play this out. They do have Jozu on the field. Jozu, just a really good character to establish, especially in this matchup. Going to be really difficult to take out on the opposing side. So we'll see if they play any more characters, how many more characters that they play now at 9 Dawn. Could play 2 4-cost bodies on the field if they wanted to, but is first going to swing that 7 with the Jozu. Is going to go ahead and take the life. Maybe wants to block the Doflamingo swing, right? Because if you rest this Trafalgar Law, could be something that the Doflamingo just adds a bunch of Dawn and absolutely blasts you. So might as well just block the Doflamingo. Is that a Houndblaze? This is a Doflamingo list playing Houndblaze, not something we have seen up in this tournament up to date. Oh my goodness, that is actually so interesting to play that card. Very, very cool. The nightmare fuel of One Piece players remembering this in Sakazuki has made its way into Doflamingo. Going to be interesting to see how it maybe pans out in this game, how far maybe it takes you, but no more thinking about that. Let's move on in this one. Swinging 7 now at lead. Decides not to block with the Trafalgar Law, but is going to get a Basil Hawkins trigger. That's going to be really nice. Basil Hawkins, even though it has a great on KO effect, the trigger is good as well. Draw 2, trash 1. So is going to go ahead and do that. And is thinking about pitching the Eustass Captain Kidd. very interesting pitching that Eustass Captain Kidd. I would have maybe thought that you played the Eustass Captain Kidd, but maybe wants to go wide instead of going thin, right? Maybe playing double Gadatsu in the next turn. And so let's go in, still holding on at this point. Still has to worry about leader swing, so maybe that's why not blocking with the Trafalgar Law. Maybe okay going in with 3 life at this point. And with the 4 Don, thinking about what he should play, looks like it's going to be that Law, and that Law is going to pick up the Sengoku. Was thinking about the Weevil, actually, and is going to pick up both of them. Is going to go ahead, pick up his own characters, right? You can only put the Monkey D. Luffy back in your Eustass Captain Kidd opponent's hand, so might as well get a rested character for less things to swing at. And with the Marshall D. Teach effect, you can go ahead, swing 9, and play that Jinbei Weevil and get that Weevil back on the field all over again. Doflamingo definitely in the driver's seat of this match. Is going to go ahead and block. All you need to do is block and 1k on this. Many less cards than the countering from life. So moving now into the 10 Don turn. A full 10 Don. You don't have the Eustass Captain Kidd anymore, but you do have, with this 5k swing at the Jinbei, you do have the ability with the 2 Gadatsus to take out both Weevil and the Trafalgar Law. So also one of the things that's unique about this deck is you can swing this 9,000 power Law into a character and then restand it at the end of the turn after you reveal a life. So is going to be really, really nice to definitely clear everything off of this board except for the Jozu. So gets rid of this guy, gets rid of the other guy, right? Because the Doflamingo still at 4 life. And so then we'll go in, use leader effect, right? Reveal this life. It's going to be a Shirahoshi blocker, which is not a bad life to reveal, right? Is going to be 1k counter, not anything that's super influential or crazy into the game, but a good card to get. And we pass off the turn. That Law once again stands as a 9,000 power blocker, and only really Jozu and leader swing is going to be able to control this game. The Sengoku is going to come in. You do have to try to get rid of these Gadatsus, but the Gadatsu being a 5 cost is not going to be easy for you to get rid of. The only thing that you can use against it is a Jozu, and would Jozu really help you at this point? Could possibly bring back the Sengoku in hand, but first goes ahead, swings 7, is going to take that Shirahoshi, go down to 2 life, and the clock is ticking for this Eustass Captain Kidd player as another Jozu comes down, gets that Sengoku, puts a Gadatsu back, now neutralizes only 2 swings out for the Eustass Captain Kidd. And what do they do with the rest of their Don? Maybe thinking of using leader effect and going ahead with kind of a 9,000 or 8,000 power swing. Could go ahead, attach those for the 9, go ahead, swing, play maybe a Jinbei. Jinbei could go ahead and play Boa Hancock on the field, but is going to play a Weevil instead. I thought it could maybe be interesting with a Boa Hancock, maybe get a blocker, an active blocker on the field, but you still have 4 life, so Gadatsu gets rid of the Boa. So maybe not. Maybe the extra 1,000 power is a little greedy. Is thinking about blocking. This is a 9k leader swing, so this swing off of the leader is just going to need a 1k counter. So maybe thinking about pitching either the Shirahoshi or the Gadatsu on the swing is going to be a difference. Maybe thinking, am I actually going to use the Gadatsu right now? But goes ahead and pitches Shirahoshi. I don't mind this. I think they showed that he top decked a 10 drop ace in the last turn and finds a 7 drop Trafalgar Law. So the Trafalgar Law could be nice. You do have that X-Drake in hand. Going to be a nice 2k counter that you can put right at the top if you want to keep it there. And is thinking about what he should swing with first. Is going to have 1 Don, attach it to Gadatsu, swing 7,000 power. Looks like it's going to be at that Jinbei again, continuing the board clear. You might want to attach, or maybe you just swing the 9 at Jozu. Do you just go ahead, swing 9 at Jozu, play down the Law, and then that Law giving you a rested Dawn. You would have 2 Dawn left. You attach it to the kid, swing another 8,000 at that Jozu. That could be something that we see within this game. And it looks like they're attaching the 2 to the Law and swinging 11 now at this Jozu. So just going right in with the Jozu. You don't have a ton of counter in your hand if you're the Doflamingo, but I think you do have enough counter to go around it. 2, 3, 4, 5 would be enough to get out of that swing, but decides, you know, it's a little bit too much. I'd reveal too much information with only 1 2K in my hand. I'm just going to let that one go and let him play down that Trafalgar Law promo in the life. So now swinging 6 at life is going to counter out with a 2K potentially, or maybe is thinking about taking this life. Maybe wants to neutralize Gadatsu, right, for the rest of this game. So says, you know what? I'm going to take this life. I'm going to try to gain a card, maybe a 2K or like a Jinbei, something to my advantage. And we move on into the Doflamingo's turn. So finds another Jozu on the top deck. Could once again play that Jozu down. Could go Sengoku, find a piece, play the Jozu, and especially with Marshall D. Teach, you're kind of chilling at this point. We see a Perfume Femur in the list. No Gravity Blades up to this point. Could be something that they replaced Gravity Blade with a Hound Blaze right in the list, which is an interesting change, but kind of maybe makes a little bit of sense, I think. Does go ahead and grab that Perfume Femur. Could be really, really nice. Is going to be in the hand now, and is going to be something that the Eustass Captain Kid constantly thinks about, right, for the remainder of this game. Still a healthy hand size compared to the Eustass Captain Kid. Is going to start off swinging 7 first. Is going to trigger that Trafalgar Law. That Trafalgar Law, well, maybe not trigger, is going to go ahead and put that Trafalgar Law in hand. If you wanted to trigger, because you're a supernova type, you and your opponent are both at 5 life in total, so you could play that card if you wanted to, but opts to keep the 2K in hand. Is going to be another 7K swing at life, and so are you going to counter out? You do have another 2K in hand, so could be like Trafalgar Law Gadatsu that you take out of your hand, right? Would be 8,000 power to get out of this swing, but decides to go ahead and take this, go down to 1 life. Is going to be a, looks like 2K counter in the Satori. Didn't want to go in with that. And yeah, I think at the very end there, they do have that ace in hand. So is going to be nice to be able to potentially get rid of a character, gain a life. And so the Doflamingo ending out the turn, or at least this next stage of the turn, with the Jozu, right, putting that other Gadatsu back in hand. And we'll see now what they decide to use with the leader effect. I would agree with this Boa Hancock. I think Boa Hancock's a pretty good one for the swing. Would get you up to 9,000 counter and would force a card out from the Eustass Captain Kid's hand to counter out of the block, right? Is going to be really, really nice for you. And look at that. We got Hound Blaze. We also have a Weevil and a, I think that was a 2K Crocodile right there. Yes, it is. So favoring the Hound Blaze on top. So the order of the stack, Hound Blaze, Weevil, and Crocodile. Really interesting prioritizing the Hound Blaze. We could see that played in the next turn, bottom decking that Luffy. But we do counter and we do block and counter out of that one. Is going to go ahead now and pass off the turn. Finds a Eustass Captain Kid. So do you use the Eustass Captain Kid, or do you go in with the Ace? I think Ace might be a nice one right now. You do need to get rid of these characters, right? You need to get rid of as many as possible. You need to neutralize how many swings you're taking every single turn. So this 9K swing at the Boa is going to be interesting if they counter out. Only 1 2K in hand. Bunch of 1K, so is going to let this one go. Did its job gaining that extra 1,000 power. The other Law going at the Weevil, right, since the Ace is a 10,000 power character, and is going to go ahead, play down that Ace. Since you're at 2 life after gaining that one, is going to gain Rush, and so now this 10,000 power swing going at the Jozu. So now might be a time where you want to counter, right? You've got 1 Jozu on the field. You could have 2 at the end of this turn, right? If you keep this guy alive, no more Dawn left to manipulate for this Eustass Captain Kid. We'll see if he decides to counter out, and looks like he is going to be pitching the cards in his hand. Looks like 2k 1k 1k to go up to 11,000 and save that Jozu, and now this 5k swing is going to prompt a Marshall D Teach. Using that leader effect is going to put up a Gadatsu, right? The revealing the card that they put in life, or through that effect of the ace, and so is going to make that Trafalgar Law once again a 9,000 power blocker, really kind of showcasing this deck in its strength of, like, okay, being able to repurpose all these huge blockers on the field. And we haven't even seen the premier SR of OP10, the Eustass Captain Kid, maybe the next play if they're thinking about placing a big body every single turn. You top deck Houndblaze, and Houndblaze is kind of nice, but Houndblaze, I don't know, is going to help you at this stage of the game, right? Only that little baby Monkey D. Luffy is sitting on the field. The Houndblaze only gets rid of 2 costs or less, does give you a plus 3,000 power though, so that might be kind of more the priority in this deck, right? Using that to gain power for some of your swings with some of the leftover Dawn that you have if you don't really have anything else useful, because, well, it's plus 3,000 power, so 2 Dawn for 3 is very good Dawn efficiency in this one. Very, very interesting to see Houndblaze in this deck and if it's utilized in this turn. But is first gonna go ahead, swing at life, 7,000 power, and honestly, the Doflamingo not worried about the board at all, is just going to go in and start swinging, is going to counter a 2k 1k to get out of that one. You do have that other 2k 1k combo in this turn as well with another Jozu, and starts off by playing the Boa Hancock as active. And so you know that that first life is not going to be like a KO trigger, you know, from the Egghead Luffy from OP7. So you get that extra 1,000 power on the Dawn, and after reordering the top, is going to attach that one to leader. Could attach even more with the Marshall D. Teach leader effect. Doesn't really have anything to play off of the leader effect unless that top 3 had a 4 cost that you can play, which is very likely, honestly. But first swings the 7,000 power Jozu. The Jozu is going to command another 2k 1k potentially in this game. So you do have that combo with X-Drake Satori and the Shirahoshi, but how does the rest of swings favor? You would potentially go down to 1 life right at the end of this turn because you probably wouldn't have anything to block. So do you go in with the block at this point? Looks like going to take the life, go down to 1, maybe opting to use all the counter for the swing and block with the Trafalgar Law, kind of trying to command this game in a sense. We may see the introduction of Houndblaze right here. Houndblaze could be really nice, right, to gain 3,000 power. And you'd be able to go over 9, force, like I was talking about, the extra cards out of this Eustass Captain Kid's hand. So there's 2 Dawn. Come on, just play the Houndblaze. It would be so exciting to see Houndblaze back in this deck, to be honest. But looks like attaching it to leader instead on this one. So still has the Marshall D. Teach. You do have to put a card on top of the deck in order to swing with, or in order to get the rest of done. So does not have a card that they really want to use. So gets that Weevil, gets a 2k, and now with that 8,000 power swing, just a safe, easy Trafalgar Law rest on there, and is going to go ahead, use the Houndblaze right to bottom deck that Luffy and boost up the Marshall D. Teach. So Marshall D. Teach, a 6,000 power character, may go ahead to use this Teach effect, add 2 Dawn on this Teach, and add the last active to it to make it a 9,000 power swing. Oh my goodness, this Marshall D. Teach throwing hands right now, and so does command a lot of cards. Don't know if you want to go down to 0 as this Eustass Captain Kid, and Doflamingo looking so strong at this point. The Houndblaze doing wonders in this one. So find your Hound Blazes, find your alternate arts of Hound Blaze. It's going to be a crazy. We'll see if he counters out of this one or takes the life. Do you counter or no? Going down to 0 is so scary, right? With so many swings, you don't have a way to get rid of this Boa Hancock, right? So you know that at least 2 swings, no matter what, are going to be coming at you. He's still sitting at 3 life. It's so healthy, right? It's going to be really interesting. You do have that Eustass Captain Kid for the trashing leader effect, right? If you rest that character and still have 4 swings to manage in going for game 3 of them needing to connect. Well, actually, they would all need to connect because of that Boa. You can't get rid of the Boa, so would be so difficult, honestly, in my opinion, to go for game. Is going to go ahead, counter out of that 2K, 2K, 1K. You don't necessarily reveal anything in terms of how much counter you have, right? Because 2K, 2K, 1K is completely normal to get out of that swing. But what does happen is you only have 3 cards in hand now. What could help you in this one? I think only 10 drop ace would really be able to help you at this stage of the game. And no, finds another 8 drop Eustass Captain Kid. So may go ahead in a combination of 8 drop Eustass Captain Kid and Shirahoshi, right? You just saw the Hound Blaze going away. Not very likely that another Hound Blaze is going to come down in this game because it's not a searchable card. Would be nice, allow you to have 2 different blockers on your field, one being 9,000 and one being 2. And so with this 5, we'll see what he's trying to do. If he's going at life or he's going at teach. If he's going at life, I would probably counter out this 1K Sengoku that's in hand, but is going to go ahead and block with this Boa. The Boa going to be a nice block, right? Is going to be free, and if they decide to blast into it, that's 1 less swing into your Jozu. That first 9K swing into Jozu is going to be countered out with the rest in your hand, so you know that every single swing now at this point is going to connect, but you can only get rid of 2 more bodies because of the efficiency on the counter and blocking. So that ace, that law going to take out those 2 characters, and the Eustass Captain Kid coming down is going to be nice. Is going to go ahead, use that effect to burn the life and also draw 1, trash 1 at end of the turn. And so is going to go ahead, play that Shirahoshi. Does reveal a Hawkins, or that's not Hawkins, that's a, what's that guy's name? Cavendish at the life right there, the vanilla Cavendish, and pass off the turn after playing that Shirahoshi. Does make that Eustass Captain Kid a blocker, and then on that draw 1, trash 1, you are going to be able to have a Basil Hawkins in the hand, but just a 1K counter. You know that wasn't Perfume Femur off the top of the deck? No, Perfume Femur is the top of the deck now at this point. No, Perfume Femur is in your hand right now. You know they have it in hand because of what they did earlier, being able to find it, right, and reveal it. And so you got to be thinking about this swings. You got to be able to block this next one because the Perfume Femur is going to be coming down, is going to be put on that Boa, and is going to be able to secure this game, I would say. Especially after taking that first life. 7K, a little too costly. I don't know. I maybe would have blocked with the Shirahoshi right here, but the writing's kind of on the wall, right? I would say in this game, you do not have enough to be able to get out of this. As soon as you go down to 0 life, the Perfume Femur is active, so that Boa Hancock is going to go in with the rest of the Dawn being unblockable and swing at life. Not enough left. So close for the Eustass Captain Kid, but we saw through the consistency of Jozu and Jinbei really carried out in this. And honestly, I think the Marshall D Teach Hound Blaze swing was huge in that game, right? A really unexpected 9,000 power swing that you had to get rid of was so good in this game. So let's go ahead, let's look at some deck lists. So we don't have the exact Eustass Captain Kid list from this tournament at this point, just a little too soon that I'm recording this from the championships, but we do know that the key components within this were in this deck, right? We saw the Cavendish, which was in there. We saw the Trafalgar Law, Basil Hawkins, Luffy, Kid, Ace, Gadatsu, Satori, this law right here. So most of the key components in this deck are in this. So this is probably a pretty accurate depiction of the list. A couple different cards that could have been different. The Rogue, right, might not have been in that list, might have played like the Robin instead in this one. We didn't see a Scratchman and Pooh, but is a very nice Supernova 2K that got included in this deck with, or I'm sorry, just a Supernova 1-drop in this deck that got included in OP10. But very cool, very interesting deck, right? Being able to burn your opponent's life in a couple different ways with this Eustass Captain Kid and also potentially the Shirahoshi, right, in certain matchups. Gaining a life. You can also gain life through the secret rare Trafalgar Law, the Ace in here. Very different ways to go through within this game and put in a lot of pressure. I would say Eustass Captain Kid, multiple showings so far in the OP10 meta in the Japanese tournaments, has arguably been the best leader to come out of the set, competing very tightly with Usopp, but we'll just have to wait and see how far that Usopp goes in the tournament or if any kids advance through the finals. We don't have the exact list for the Doflamingo player either, but especially with a lot of the cards that we saw within this game, I think this is probably close to a pretty accurate list that we saw in this one. We know that we saw a heavy count in Jozu in this match, Jozu being very important within this matchup and boding really well for our Doflamingo player as time went on in this game. We know they at least played a couple of these OP07 2K Trafalgar Laws, just a really nice extra 2K that's searchable, an extra card to play as well that you can utilize in the match. And then also, especially in the early game, right, with 6 or more cards in hand, you can really start doing some hand control, right, maybe playing some puddings as well on top of that. The ratios might be a little bit different than what the person was playing, right? We saw a couple crocodiles, so this may be 4. This Trafalgar Law could be more than 2. Could have been playing 2 Perfume Femurs as well, although traditionally a lot of lists only play 1, right? You only need 1 in a single match. But Houndblaze being the interesting inclusion, I would say, within this deck. Houndblaze, if you remember, bottom decks A2 cost or less and gives plus 3,000 power to one of your characters. You don't have to do the bottom decking part. The plus power always gets in, and so especially when you're going in for some surprising bigger swings, right, Houndblaze is a really interesting card to give you a bunch of power. It's not searchable within this deck, but with the strength of reordering, right, being able with Perona, being able with the Buggy that we saw in the game, being able with the Boa Hancock, you can look through a lot of your deck and be able to manipulate what exactly you see, especially with these non-Don Quixote Pirates 7 Warlords of the Sea kind of card, like the Jozu right here, like the Houndblaze, even Peronas as well, and also the Sengokus, right, not being 7 Warlords of the Sea type cards. Just add for so much power within your game plan. Such an interesting list, right? Such an interesting inclusion that I think a lot of people joked about, but this guy was serious. You guys can also get alternate art Houndblazes from PRB for 30 bucks. Really interesting to see, and it's gone up a little bit, but there's not too many people that have bought it as of late. Average daily sold 2. Oh, I don't know if you could see that. Average daily sold 2. So could be interesting if you want to stock up on this, I would say. That's going to be all for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Looking at the next round, it looks like it's going to be Doflamingo versus Purple Luffy. So especially for all of you that are playing in the West, it's going to be a really interesting match to watch. Maybe you can learn a thing or two on this because the decks are mostly the same, I would say, heading into OP10. But that's going to be it. Thank you again so much for watching. Again, thank you so much to Funky Rooster Coffee for sponsoring this tournament video, and I hope to see you soon in the next tournament.